All right, folks. Hey, welcome to another exciting episode. The Epstein Files have dropped, and we got names, and we're going to be going through the entire thing. So stay tuned. All right, folks. Hey, happy Thursday. Got to keep looking at my watch to remind me what day it is. But, man, a lot of stuff is happening. Chris and I were planning on one show, and then, like, in the last, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 hours or so, everything changed. You know, all this information with Epstein has dropped. We got the PDFs to it. We're still kind of sorting through this, and we're going to basically have you sort through some of this stuff with us. There's definitely a list of names. I'm not sure what these names actually mean. I'm also pretty suspicious of the names that we have because there's lots of names that we don't have that we should have. But yeah, it gets pretty weird. But Chris, how was well, I haven't seen you in a couple of days. How's the last few days been? How's the future in Australia?
Yeah, the future is bright and sunny. Can't really complain. Don't have anything too exciting to report. I've just been doing like housework and mowing. I took a bunch of rubbish to the tip, and you know, in between, I studied a little bit about some of the recent news. I was getting things ready. Then all of a sudden, the last few hours, it sort of went to the wayside because we've had a few drops. Yeah. So I'm just downloading PDFs, trying to rotate them the right way around so I can read them properly. And now here we are, ready to have a look at them. You know?
In Australia, don't you guys read right from left? I think that's how it works. While everybody's over here, I want to say hi to everybody over in the comments. We got Nub over there, Gemini Sim Racing, Metal Seer, Tomb, Jason TG sponsor, mostly Peaceful Combat Vet, Gary Shaver, Lori Matthews, Jeff Johnson, Drones, Ted Boyette, Wyatt Darrell, Khan. I'm sure I missed some, and if you guys haven't said hi, make sure you guys say hi over in the comments. We'll try to address you. Folks, we got a lot to cover, and I'm sure many of you are following this as well. If you haven't downloaded the PDF, you can go to my X, and I actually have a link to a Google Drive where you should be able to download that no problem. So lots of assets. We're still going through some of these resources, and I'm not sure that we're going to get down to everything tonight. But as we're going along, folks, you know, always feel free as we're talking about things. If you guys are researching stuff over there while we're talking, you know, go ahead and post what you got up there. Or, you know, I can't post links, which is unfortunate because that would be really, really nice if you could. But, yeah, a lot of stuff has dropped tonight, and we're going to be getting right into it. Chris, I know you got the PDF pulled up. I'm going to go through. Do you want to go through any of that stuff real quick, or do you want to go through the names list first?
I'm not sure. I was thinking maybe we even start with the first page, little introduction about from where are we? Sorry, Pam Bondi. Might as well do a bit of reading, maybe. You know, her letter to Patel. You know, Patel. Before he came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents. Late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. And I guess she's, so they're going to work to get the rest of them out. So I don't know whether there's anything funny going on there, but
no, I think
we have something.
Yes. I think we have a New York bureau or a New York office of the FBI that is clearly, completely obfuscating information and trying to keep information away from the Department of Justice. I think this is what we continue to see all throughout, Trump's first administration. That's what we have here now is another DOJ that are element of the DOJ, the FBI specifically, that is full of antagonists and people trying to thwart the efforts of the president, the duly elected president of the United States. And that's the problem. And anybody that's in, I hope Patel gets to the bottom of this, and I hope between him and Bondi, we start firing some agents. I'm tired of hearing about, different, whether they're bureaucrats, whether they're 1811s, federal agents that are acting on their own behalf or against the efforts of, this president. Man, this has got to stop. This is this is treason. That's what this is. And people need to start getting held accountable, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. What's going on with that? You got anything else?
Safe to assume there's some shady business going on here. Maybe the that New York office, some of them got a few massages, a few of them went on a few trips, or maybe they know people who did, or, who knows? But
well, this
is one of those stories.
Yeah, so this is one of the things I was thinking about when it comes to Bill Clinton. We have good information that, and even within our discussion, we were talking about Mossad, we were talking about the CIA. And here's a fact. If Bill Clinton went to Epstein Island, which I think we all agree that there's pretty good evidence that he did, he went there with a Secret Service detail. There's almost no chance that he didn't go with the Secret Service detail. And, we were kind of joking around in the chat, talking about Mossad, talking about, Israeli intelligence. And I don't necessarily doubt that Mossad was involved in this. I also know for a fact that there is no chance that the CIA wasn't involved in this, and our own intel agencies didn't know about this. I almost feel like, to be honest with you, we were joking around about this, but to some extent, I feel like the news is kind of throwing Mossad and Israel under the bus on this. And I could be wrong, and there could be complete collusion between the CIA. But I think what they're trying to do, from my perspective, is that they're trying to, chase after a red herring and point, misdirect people in the media, through the media, away from our own intelligence agencies. Because again, Mossad may have been completely behind this, but let me tell you something. If they were, the CIA knew everything that was going on, and there's no doubt about that. So,
that sounds plausible. I haven't looked into it enough to really have a sort of a definitive idea of what's going on here. But, just from a surface level, it is quite common to see people say, talk about the connection to Israel and to Mossad. I think it's that Ghislaine Maxwell, like her dad was
look at this.
Flexner or whatever. A few other things tying it back to Israel and Mossad. But yeah, it is interesting how common that thought is. If you think it is sort of like that, like maybe that wouldn't be so widespread, that idea, if it was true.
It was actually true.
I'm not saying it's not, but it is quite possible that it is the scapegoat, like you're saying. Or it could just be completely true, and that's just coming out that, this is a Mossad op. But yeah, it could be anything's possible. But yeah, it does seem like some kind of blackmail operation from somebody at the very least.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, when you look at that list of names that we're getting ready to go through, there's no doubt that this was a blackmail operation. I don't know if this was individual, if it was somebody trying to cover their own ass, or if this was, a state-ran intel op.
Just speaking of Clinton before, I just remembered this photo. Apparently, this was one of the photos found in a painting found in Epstein's home.
You see the one with
another one with George Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of playing with the Twin Towers or whatever, knocking them down with paper planes or something. But
apparently, Comey's daughter, who I didn't even know was in the FBI. Apparently, she works in the New York office. She needs to be one of the first people fired just because of a relationship to Comey. All right, real quick, I'm going to throw this up there, and folks, what I got here is a video I went through, and I was literally making this in just the last few minutes, right up to there's like, I don't know, 200. Chris, you got it there on that PDF. There's like 294 pages or something like that in that PDF.
Yeah, something like that. 224 to be exact.
And I went all the way to the back. I was just zooming through, and of course at the end were all the names, or at least the names that we have here. And I'm just going to go through these, and then the pages that, have names that we would recognize, or at least I would recognize. You'll see I have those highlighted. So we'll just go ahead and play this, and you guys can take a look at this. If you guys need me to go back or look at something, say something up in the comments, and I'll try to go back and check it out. You guys, I'll pause at every page just so that you guys can see what these are. And just to be fair, there's no context to what these names mean.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Doesn't say what these people are.
Yeah, like it's literally some evidence lists look like are flight logs with no names on them really. And then all of a sudden there's these lists of names. So it starts right here with no context to what they are, what it is, or anything else. So take that for what it is.
Actually, just before you maybe pause there for a second, I'll just quickly sort of do the overview of the 200 pages, sort of quickly skim through them. Where are we? Yeah, so we have this first page. Then it's got a couple of pages of whatever this is. Not even really sure what they are. A couple of pages of whatever that is. And then it goes on to whatever this was. I guess they're already publicly released in the case. Some kind of logs, flight logs, I guess.
Yeah, those are flight logs.
There's a bunch of names there. It goes on for a few pages. I haven't really skimmed through it. The only name I recognised just from a quick look was sort of all the way down the end here. His lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, was mentioned. What's going on there?
Going too fast. You're slow ass.
Yeah, it was. I thought I'd have a quick little. Anyways, here's pages of that, and then eventually, yeah. So, on the last page you can see Dershowitz there a couple of times. I'm guessing because I'd heard he had been at the mansion. I wasn't sure if he was on the flight logs or he went to the island. I just knew that he had said he went to Epstein's mansion and got a massage from an old Russian woman. And his quote was something to the effect of, "I kept my underwear on when I had that massage." And my wife knew about it and she's totally fine with it. So there's really nothing shady with Dershowitz, apparently. Anyway, then it goes on to the section you were showing where it lists all these names and it just says redactions for personal contact information. And that's basically where you're up to with your video if you want to swing back to that. And there's one more section after this section.
And look, I do think it is very likely that, Epstein had people over and had these parties, and some of these parties were probably, PG at best. And then I do think there was other things that were taking place there. So again, take that. And again, I also feel like just going through this list as I pulled it up and the information they've dropped, I just feel like it's nonsense. Like there's nothing here. And I just feel like they're trying to placate people with this, whether that is, I don't care if that's the Trump administration. I don't care if it's the Biden DOJ or the deep state or whatever else. Hopefully we're going to get real information from those 2,000 pages or whatever that Pam Bondi is going to get from the New York office. So Greg kind of thumbs it up. They really didn't release shit. They do have names on here, and we are going to go through them. But for the most part, there's nothing freaking super mind-blowing here other than some names, and then there's really no context to even what those are. So we'll go through these. I'll pause on every page just in case you guys see a name or something that stands out to you that I'm not aware of.
So yeah, without the context of exactly what these people are, it's kind of weird. I suppose we could just look up all these people and see who they are and if there's anything they have in common, maybe.
Yep. So on this page right here, this is kind of a who's list. We got David Blaine, we got Tony Blair, Mike Bloomberg. I think that was all that was on this page. There's several of these names, some of them completely redacted, that are circled. I don't know who John Brunel is. Somebody knows who that is. Put that down in the comments. Again, right now we're in the C's. You would think you would see a Clinton in here, but there is no Clinton in here. And this is one of the things that, like, some of these people that we have a really good idea that they were here, their names aren't on these lists. So, that doesn't give me a real warm and fuzzy. Let me see. What name did I find on this one?
Just quickly, I might steal the screen just because Israel jumped out. There I am. I'm like, hey. But also Italy, so who knows? I don't even know what this is. Israel and Italy and Jeffrey are mentioned sort of halfway through. Someone did a massage in the island.
Several other countries. So what I think, we'll get to this.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, we'll get to that. I think I have a pretty good idea of what that actually is. It's basically a points of contacts in different countries and services and, institution or establishments that they utilize with points of contacts in those specific countries and states, by the way. There's other states in there too. I thought this was interesting. We got Phil Collins up here and Oriane, which was his wife. I think she died in like 2008. But that confirms that is indeed the Phil Collins that we all know and love and can barely walk now.
Great musician, songwriter, and drummer. Don't know what he's up to here. It's a bit concerning.
Let's see. What did I see?
Jason's asking what my last name is, just to be sure. It's Nolan. So when we get to the ends, you'll see I'm not here. Okay.
We got Janice Dickinson up there. Let's see here. We got Minnie Driver right up here in the top right hand corner. I didn't see any other real names any names that really stuck out other than hers. We got the Duke of York, Duchess of York, right there.
So would these be people on the flight logs, do you think? Or well, because it's got the flight logs above it. This is something separate. I don't know if they're related.
Yes, but
oh yeah.
Who knows if this is all inclusive, if this was just at one event. I mean, there's not that many people here. I mean, this literally could be one event. We got Chris Evans up here. I don't know if this is the actor Chris Evans. It's a pretty common name, but he's kind of a douche, so I figured I'd throw his name under the bus.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good chance.
Who do we have here? We got Tom Ford, Richard Buckley. Yeah. They're quite the couple.
I don't suppose anyone's listening audio only, but if they are, we're just sort of looking through the names at the moment, silently looking for anyone too famous.
Famous? Now we're on the H's, and we got Dustin Hoffman over here. I don't think I saw any other names. Who do I have on this one? Liz Hurley down here at the bottom right-hand corner. Didn't see any Biden names. You're telling me that Hunter Biden wasn't at these parties?
Yeah, that's... what's that saying? The dog that didn't bark or something?
Exactly.
The Sherlock Holmes saying that's something that's like, all right, there you go, something's wrong. Because you expected this to happen, but it didn't. So we've cracked the case. Something's going on.
We got Michael Jackson over here. We got Mick Jagger. Robert Hurst. Who do I have on here? I don't know. I had somebody on here. We got Ted Kennedy Jr., Senator Kennedy, Ed Kennedy, Bobby and Mary Kennedy, also known as our HHS secretary at the moment. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's him. Who else? Joe Kennedy, several Kennedys on here. I think Joe is Robert's, RFK's sister. Bunch of no-name people. We got Courtney Love here at the top. That was actually circled by somebody that was in possession of these documents. Don't know what that means.
It means they partied extra hard, I think. Not sure. No, not really.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Maxwell's there on the previous page, whatever that is. Don't know if they're related to the...
Jack, I don't necessarily disagree with. I don't think it's misinformation. It's just not enough information. So, and I also
because I suppose we should say that like all these people, they're not necessarily guilty of anything. Like we don't know what the context is. Well, it's pretty sus, but
I feel like we did that at the beginning. I think we said, hey, there's no context to this. We don't know what's going on, but obviously people want to know this information. Completely agree.
Well, some of these people might be super litigious, so that's what it's like.
I don't want to get.
I'll say it again, second time.
Yeah, like I don't want to feed into the bullshit narratives of it's just information, right? It's just information. It probably is. I don't know. Ultimately, it's just partial information. I think that's fair to say what it is. So again, everybody take it for what it's worth. Who do we have here? Rupert Murdoch.
This is possibility from Patrick. Could be a hit job on some of these people character.
100%. So, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there were certain people that were pulled from this information, names that are pulled from this information be protected, or certain lists that were convenient to release were released. I don't think this is a comprehensive list of everybody that was ever there. This literally could be one single event that could have been completely benign. So I agree that there's a high percentage chance that, we're intentionally being misled by the powers that be. I'll just leave it like that.
We do have Rupert Murdoch there, big media guy.
100%. Old Fox News got kicked out, was sexually harassing. Oh God.
Wasn't that Roger Ailes? I'm not sure if that was
same people. Yeah. I think you're right, though. I think it was Roger Ailes. Let's see.
And there's Bill O'Reilly too. He's supposed to got a bit of trouble for I don't know.
Yeah.
Being a bit cheeky, possibly. I don't know.
I don't like Bill O'Reilly. I don't know.
Yeah.
With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they, found a good reason to kick him out. He says he didn't, and there's other people that apparently came to his. We got. Who do we have here? Somebody I recognize this one. Oh well. Bill Siegel.
Sean G says, what does this information mean? That has not been addressed. We sort of addressed that we don't really know what this information means. That's about as good as we can do.
I think she's saying that it hasn't been addressed by the government.
Yeah. Which is true.
This is what's been released, folks. We have it. We're sharing it with you. That's our job. Give you what you want to, give you the information, try to present it to you as concisely as possible. And then, what you do with it is on you. We got Peter Soros. We have his name twice. I don't know if there's two Peter Soros.
Do we know who that is, or you just got the?
I believe that is that not Soros' son?
Some kind of relation?
I believe
I think his son's called. I'm sure the son's.
I'm looking. Let's see who Peter Soros is. So there's lots of people Googling him. Peter Soros lives between London and New York, has managed his family's investment office since 1998. I don't even know if it's the right guy. Peter Soros.
Oh, I've got hold on. Found something. Just let me take over for a sec. I just Googled this or whatever. Oh, where am I? Peter Soros, I don't know if it is the same Peter Soros, but he's an investment banker who is a nephew of George Soros. So could be that guy. But yeah, back to you.
You couldn't have just read that?
Well, I like to have the receipts, I like to have the attitude of don't take my word. look at the information, and the information is here. Because I could have said, yep, Peter Soros is a nephew of George Soros, and I could just be completely lying,
All right, so we have some Trumps here. We have Ivanka and Ivana, and then Blaine and Robert Trump. I have no idea who those are. So there's that. We got Robert and I don't know if it's Blaine or Biana up here at the top. It's hard to read. Got Chris Tucker. I mean, I'm going to assume that is the comedian. There's no way to know.
He was in Fifth Element, wasn't he? It's one of my favorite
movies. Yep. He was in Fifth Element. He was in that movie with Jackie Chan. I can't think of it right now.
Rush Hour.
What's that?
Rush Hour.
Yeah, Rush Hour. There you go. Who do I have on here? Andrew Yates. I don't know. Oh, the Prince of Yugoslavia. Yeah.
That's kind of weird, isn't it? At first, I didn't. Well, hadn't really heard of Yugoslavia in a while. I didn't know they had a prince, and
well, so it this person, it has to be. There's Yugoslavia down here. Dmitry, Yugoslavia, Serge Day. I think that's. It's almost as if it's a name. All right.
So we got to the end of the alphabet, and I guess it's sort of going into different categories. Like before, it said 65th Street, and then America, and a bunch of other weird stuff, which I'm not sure.
So I think it's a list of basically approved vendors and things in their network. So we have America, Beverly Hills, and they have a bunch of different. You guys will see a bunch of different businesses, Beverly Wiltshire. And some of these obviously look like names, but then I also think it shows here, because you'll see in just a second, Pierre Hotel, Plaza, St. Regis Hotel. So again, I think this is
got a quick Chris Tucker update. Metal C, I met him. Apparently drives a nice car. Beautiful car, actually.
Very nice.
Sorry, carry on.
Here you have different countries, Columbia Bank, and then again, these what I feel like are basically approved vendors that are within there, that they know people. I don't know what this is.
Island heading.
So I don't know if this is their island, and maybe they use these vendors, Christopher Taxi, Air Center Helicopter. And then over here, we basically have points of contact for, I think, different, hey, if these things are what's needed, this is the way that I'm reading it, you contact Jeff Epstein. This is almost like a task org chart, right? Paul Hoffman, if you got going on, I don't know what he does. Don't really care. Massage A Island. That's the massage crew. And of course you have Israel here. Again,
of course.
I don't know. Yeah, so we have Jerusalem Hyatt. I'm assuming these are other businesses.
He had Omar, what was the previous Prime Minister of Israel, right? Or President or something?
I don't know.
He had Barack as well. Watch out. Getting a bit spicy. No,
here we have Buckingham Research, Butler Aviation, Epstein Porta. I don't know what that is. There's Alan Dershowitz. Obviously, he was his lawyer. That's been well known. So obviously, for legal services, or if there's something going on a legal front, contact Alan Dershowitz.
One of the pages around there says something about Leslie Wexner. I don't know if that's Wexner is sort of, wasn't it the surname of Ghislaine Maxwell's parents? Yeah, there we go. It's just on that page. Yes.
The one we just
Yeah,
passed.
previous page.
Hold on.
Hang on, just.
Yeah, regardless.
I'll just quickly share my screen. Where are we?
All right, so Trump.
Oh, I've got the wrong thing. Damn it. Sorry. Let me hit the wrong thing.
All right, so you can see Trump is here, right here. Donald Trump, Wexner, left.
Yeah, let's, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, stop right there. So this, go back.
Oh, that's all you.
Oh.
What are you talking to the video player?
I thought you were still playing in your video. I don't know. You keep jumping in my shit to say the same thing.
Yeah, well, I say it better, right?
We're talking about New Mexico. Then we got Bill Richardson up here. Obviously, he was the former governor of New Mexico. Again, I think he is a POC. Friendly POCs for things needed in New Mexico.
It says Wexner gave Epstein the mansion he had in New York City. Yeah, I've got here Wikipedia. Les Wexner, he's an American billionaire businessman, co-founder of Bath and Body Works. Wexner retained Jeffrey Epstein as his financial manager from 1987 to 2007 and was initially the main client of Epstein's money management firm, according to Bloomberg. Epstein ran his business out of a house Wexner owned and sometimes resided in while advisor of Victoria's Secret. See, I did what you said. I just read it. I didn't bother with mucking up the screen share or whatever. So you happy?
Happier.
But then again, I could have just made that up. Where did I pull that from? Who knows?
So I didn't get a chance to actually read through this portion right here. But number one, we clearly have Secret Service personnel escorting Mr. Barak Hood, former Prime Minister of Israel, on Epstein planes. We have David Copperfield. His name was never in there anywhere, but obviously he's on somehow tied to this. We still don't know what any of this is. This is not even saying that necessarily they were on the island. So anyways, that's basically what we have here. There's some other redacted masseuses. Basically, I think there's 254 people that are labeled as masseuses, and it's saying at the top that's redacted to protect potential victim information. So, that's essentially what we have. There's still like another 100 pages of documents, what look like flight logs, and other evidence, lists. So, again, you guys can take that for all it's worth.
Yeah, and as it says on the first page, apparently there's thousands of documents yet to be released. So hopefully they're coming. Otherwise, that's a bit of a... It's not much.
Yeah, so Jeff Johnson says that Maxwell chick is honestly the weirdest part. Wasn't she like a rich socialite? She was. And apparently they had some weird relationship, like appears to me kind of an open relationship. Amax is saying this is phone book. Very, very possible. The amount of redactions insulting, I think that's all part of it. They know any redactions, even the small ones, would be trouble. This is flagrant. Yeah, so far from what I'm seeing, Pat, I don't know how I feel about all that. Like, obviously, if these are people that are just in his phone book, and again, there's no evidence of wrongdoing other than being in his phone book, then, or even if that they were actually on the island, like, I don't know that we should be releasing their phone numbers and addresses and things like that. And then if we are deeming the masseuses, all 254 of them or whatever it was, obviously it wouldn't be right to list their names. So, I think there's going to be some redaction And I think any sensible person would expect redaction to protect people, so that people don't show up with freaking pitchforks at their houses.
Like, surely we should be getting the information about, like, who got massages or whatever. Like the clients, they've got the name of. Surely they should have some information of such and such flew here and got a massage and.
Well, I think what we really need is we know, and they've talked about it. There's actually videos and things like that. I don't know what those videos show. I don't know if there's, the implication is that there's videos of people in the bedroom, doing sexual acts with minors. That's essentially what the videos, so the implication is, and that almost all these, quote unquote masseuses were minors, or some of them were, and that's a whole nother thing, another ball of yarn to unravel. Like, do we know what was really going on? There's been some accusations against Prince Andrew. I believe a couple of women came out and threw accusations against him at Epstein's Island. Part of this is, and there could have been one or two of these girls that said they were 20 and they were 17 or whatever it was, that happened to get on the island, and everything else was on the up and up. I don't know. I don't think any of us do. It's and that's the problem is, the real problem is that when all this information first came out, that was the time to find it out. Now we've had people that could be involved in this that have the authority and power to go in there and remove documents, change documents, implicate people, protect people, because it's been so long now that they've had this information, and people have been sitting on it and going through it, and and behind closed doors. That's the real problem, Matt.
This comment here about Robert Maxwell, interesting to look at. I don't know a whole lot, but apparently that seems right, that he's interesting to look at. But I don't know a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, and Pat,
and with that, if there are audio and video, whether they can get them sort of directly from the cameras, or even with what like Snowden released about how they're sort of spying basically on everything and sort of storing it in vaults and stuff, you think, maybe there'd be a way for them to like access all these recordings anyway and know
the real
going on, if that's true.
We have no idea what the quality of information that we've even gotten about, Epstein's Island's about. Like, we've heard, all we've done is heard like rumor and hearsay. We've heard that there was cameras in every room. We've heard there's audio. We've heard this. We've heard that. Like, we've never been presented with any evidence of any of this stuff. And even if there was cameras in every single room, who knows? Number one, were those cameras rolling when things happened? And if they were, did the FBI ever actually get those cameras, or was Epstein smart enough to like put those at another site? Have those ever been found? Have they been looked at? The fact is, we don't know. And that's why this whole thing has turned into a conspiracy. And rightfully so, because, there's clearly, there's clearly bad information. We get partial information to get the buzz out on the street and to fill headlines. There's been plenty of headlines in every freaking news agency, print or online, about this, but we've never seen any hard evidence on any of it.
Yeah, I just sort of quickly looked up what exactly Ghislaine Maxwell was charged with, and it was sex trafficking of minors. Maxwell is accused of recruiting and grooming underage girls for Epstein's sexual exploitation, conspiracy to entice minors to engage in illegal sex acts. She was alleged to have conspired with Epstein to lure young girls into situations where they were sexually abused. Sexual abuse. Maxwell was accused of participating in the sexual abuse of minors and transporting minors for illegal sexual activity. She faced charges relating to helping transport young girls to Epstein's properties for the purpose of exploitation. She was arrested in 2020 and convicted in December 21 on 5 of the 6 charges related to these activities. On June 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison for her role in the crimes. And of course, Jeffrey Epstein was charged with something or other and then died in custody, supposedly by suicide, but no one seems to really believe that. I think he was sort of assassinated, maybe.
He was suicided. Look, here to play devil's advocate a little bit. So we know we had minors that came out and testified against Prince Andrew. I mean, literally, I think there was 2 girls on that. I think maybe only one went to court. Somebody look up the record.
Yeah.
But all of this could be tied to that 1 or 2 girls. Again, just playing devil's advocate, because we don't have a lot of evidence on here. And that's the problem. And hopefully it's all going to come out, and that's what we're all waiting for. And that's what I was hoping that this, that this information dump was going to be, just, this profound, source of information where it's just going to lay it all out and let us know. But, and here's my thing, folks, is, look, this is bullshit, as many people have pointed out. I feel like the JFK files, we're going to get the exact same thing. And the MLK files, I think we're going to get the exact same thing. They're going to dump a lot of files and a lot of information on us, and none of it's going to clarify anything. I think this is the problem.
Yeah.
He was,
as Joan says, first nothing burger of many.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, I saw a clip with that Dershowitz asking whether Epstein, actually I might see if I can find it later. He was asked whether Epstein killed himself. And he basically said, well, first he said no. Then he's like, oh, yes, no, he did. But he had help to kill himself.
Alan Dershowitz?
So, yeah, his lawyer. And yeah, he was basically saying he did kill himself, but he was just helped because the guards looked away and the camera was turned off. But he doesn't leap to, okay, well, this is probably a sign that he was killed. It's like, oh, this was just a sign. People were helping him, allowing him to kill himself. Okay, I don't know. It seems a bit strange.
All right, so this is, again, one of the things that's been thrown out in the media, that he was Mossad. And that's been said a lot. And, again, we don't know if that's true or not. But here's what I know. Like, I can tell you right now, Mossad may have been involved in this, but it doesn't mean what I know for a fact is the CIA would have been involved too. And, when we're hearing so much about Mossad, but we never hear about the CIA, I feel like an op is taking place at that point, right? Like, they're throwing people's names under the bus. And I'm not saying that Mossad wasn't involved. Very well could have been a freaking Israeli asset. Completely cool with that. I mean, I guess the assumption, which I think is almost a little silly, is oh, his name's Epstein, so clearly he's an asset of Israel. I think that's a little goofy.
No, I think there is definitely a bit more to it than that. I haven't looked into it too much, but there is.
But I mean, other than people
are assuming, sure.
Well, what I'm saying is, have we seen anything other than people saying it? I've never seen anything that really links him to Israeli government. I mean, sure, he had
the visitors of the. Yeah.
But I mean, was he British? Was he British MI as well? Because he sure had a lot of Brits over, and those are all big leaps to jump into. The fact of the matter is, though, is that if Mossad was involved, then the CIA was involved. Well, here's what I'll say: there is no chance that the CIA didn't know what was going on here. When you have heads of state going to a place like this at an island. Okay, that is going to pique their attention. They're going to have surveillance assets. They're going to have information going on there. They're going to be hacking those, just for all the reasons that we discussed, because when you have multiple heads of state going to a party, all these rich, famous people going to these parties, that is a treasure trove of intelligence, period. And again, at anything like this, where you could have people within other governments that are possibly compromised due to intoxication, alcohol, or possibly compromised because they're in precarious situations, you are going to have U.S. intelligence there to freaking make sure that they capitalize on those moments. There is no doubt about it. So we can say Mossad's involved, but what I do know without a doubt is that the CIA would be involved as well as NSA and other intelligence agencies as well.
Yeah, look, as I said, I haven't looked into it enough, and it's possible people are just jumping to conclusions. But I imagine there is quite a bit more than sort of what we know about linking it to Mossad. And apparently I've been meaning to buy, talking about little books I like to Flash. This will be the next one. I'll buy this one. I'll flash this one up because apparently there's 2 volumes of this. This is about a 1,000-page book done by Whitney Webb, One Nation Under Blackmail, all about Epstein. And I think apparently in there is a lot of evidence. I haven't obviously read it, but a lot of people that have said in these 1,000 pages, which apparently has quite a few footnotes, there's quite a bit in there linking this to Israel and Mossad to blackmail all kinds of people. So, as I said, I haven't read it, but I just might want to push back on the idea a little bit that maybe, people, it's kind of baseless linking it to Mossad. I'd probably want to read this kind of stuff and really look into it before I would say that, because there might be something there, and something about her father having links to Mossad as well.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with this. Like when you have heads of state and you have different political actors that are going to places like this, you better believe that every intelligence agency from any country that these people are going to, especially as on a regular basis, as we believe that they were going, no doubt about it. But those intel agencies, they have eyes on, period. I mean, like, there's not even a chance that it didn't happen. So, the CIA knows everything that took place on that island.
Yeah, just a bit of a backup there from Laurie. Whitney Webb, she does seem like a pretty good researcher, but I haven't read that book.
That reminds me. So, who was that? Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer posted some good stuff on this earlier. I wanted to share that with you.
I did see some funny comments. This might be a tangent or whatever. People saying if it is sort of a Mossad operation, it's probably not the best look to have all those people holding the files. Like DC Drano, and I think Jack Posobiec was there, and I forget all the other people that were there outside the White House. They got this file before the rest of us, and they're all super pro-Israel. Maybe we're reading too much into that, but people are like, yeah, maybe that's not the best look. If it is a Mossad operation, the people you're giving it to are all like super pro-Israel people, whatever. But that's, just a little hot take I saw on the internet.
Well, like I said, and that's the thing is, like, you can say Mossad's involved, and they may very well have been, but there's zero chance that the CIA wasn't involved either. I don't even know why that very basic point hasn't been brought up. Like, well,
maybe there hasn't been any sort of direct connections to CIA, whereas maybe there are some to Mossad, perhaps. Like there's some kind of, like, maybe in these books somewhere there's a lot of Mossad stuff and there's not so much CIA stuff. And who knows, maybe Mossad has blackmail on people related to the CIA and they've got the CIA under their little finger. I don't think so, but that's, that's a possibility. That's a theory that's out there.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a stretch there. That Mossad, if anything, it'd be the other way around. I mean, let's be real. The CIA ultimately has a lot more resources and is more capable than Mossad. I don't care who you are. I do think Mossad, and probably every other agency in the world, does more with less. Liz Wheeler was there.
Maybe they just have a couple of sex tapes on the CIA people, and that's all you need.
Maybe. I mean, it's not like the CIA wouldn't have sex tapes on Israeli people either.
All right. Look, we should back off a little bit.
Do that. They wouldn't have to do that.
A little too much. Sorry. I was just commenting on Jeff's comment here. Can we not start bashing on Israel already? All right. I'm trying to go easy. Sorry, Jeff.
I mean, the fact is that if there was somebody compromised within the U.S. government from Israel, all they would have to do would be like, all right, fine. You want to play blackmail game? We're not going to give you the next $1 billion that we're supposed to give you. Or we're not going to help you do X, Y, and Z, or,
Well, maybe they could say, well, if you don't give us the next $1 billion, then we release the tapes.
Oh.
Wasn't there that story? Like, wasn't even Bill Clinton? Some story I was reading about even Bill Clinton was supposedly, and look, I haven't double checked this could be complete nonsense, but I'm pretty sure I saw it in some mainstream news articles about Israel having something on Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, and then maybe using that against him around his term, around peace negotiations.
According to people of your ilk, Israel is all powerful and controls everything, and I don't buy it.
Yeah, but I mean, have you seen that particular story about Monica Lewinsky? I think there is, we can't be super dismissive. I mean, maybe, as I said, maybe it's nonsense. But have you ever seen that story?
What do they have on Bill Clinton that has, like, oh, hey, Bill?
I think before it came out.
we know that we're getting blown in the White House. Like, yeah, that was 10 years ago, and everybody knows it. Just real quick. So Liz Wheeler talking about the files says this is the story. President Trump and AG Pam Bondi committed to releasing the Epstein files. The FBI was told to deliver the files to Bondi. They did, about 200 pages. Bondi smelled a rat because there was nothing juicy in the 200 pages, just flight logs and Rolodex of phone numbers, no smoking gun. Still, Bondi promised to release the documents, so she prepared a binder of them. Then last night, a whistleblower contacted Bondi and revealed that SDNY, the Southern District of New York, was hiding potentially thousands of Epstein files to find Bondi's order to give them all to her. We're taking recordings, evidence. We're talking recordings, evidence, etc. The juicy stuff, names. These swamp creatures at SDNY deceive Bondi, Cash, and you. Be outraged that the binder is boring. You should be, because the evil deep state lied to your face. The binder is powerful because it's tangible physical evidence of the disgusting stunt that the SDNY tried to pull. Bondi is now demanding all the Epstein evidence from SDNY, plus an investigation into the persons who committed this act of defiance. The legacy media has betrayed you again and again. They lie to you, they smear you, they gaslight you. They deserve no special access to real-time exposure of corruption because they played a role in the covering up of this in the first place. You are the media, Elon said. Yes, we are. And she goes on to continue in that tangent. But basically, everything that she stated is absolutely true. Like, we continue to not get real evidence. We have a media with lots of great stories, by the way, but all the great stories are on the Democrats. And I'm not talking about this specifically. I'm talking about for the last 4 years. There's been lots of great news stories that the media could have, like, hey, you know what? We found out that Joe Biden has dementia and is completely senile. That's a big story. But they didn't want to do that because they put ideology over everything else.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, you see that Jake Tapper, who was one of these people sort of covering up for Biden, basically, he's now writing a book about how the media covered up for Biden's cognitive problems, which is just crazy. But just as you're saying with Liz Wheeler here talking about Pam Bondi, I might as well play a bit of this video. I think she's talking about similar stuff.
Hey, I'm in the airport, but I wanted to jump on here because this stuff is blowing up as it should be, and I wanted to open the Epstein Files binder and show you what's in it because.
Oh, and I'm coming back to Clinton too, and Monica Lewinsky. I have some receipts.
Because this whole exercise is about transparency, and I wanted to address some of your concerns, but I want to start with what happened this morning. So this morning I was at the White House meeting with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance and Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, and they presented us with, let me show you, they presented us with a couple of things that I want to show you, and you'll have to forgive the background. We are right now in the airport, and they presented us with this binder. Now, this is the binder that I posted a picture of.
This is what
you saw that. Right? Millions of people saw that. It says on the front, the Epstein Files Phase 1 by order of Attorney General Pamela Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, the most transparent administration in history, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Now, what's interesting is we're all waiting for bombshells, we're all waiting for juicy stuff, and that's not what's in this binder. That's not what's in this binder at all. And that's exactly how the Attorney General presented it to us. She handed us this binder and she said, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has given me an order to declassify the Epstein files, and I have been quickly working on doing just that because we want to be the most transparent administration in history. We know that as of a week ago, she went on, I believe it was Fox News, and said that she had the Epstein files on her desk. And when I think it was Jesse Waters asked her, well, is there anything, have you found anything juicy yet? She said, not yet. So her message to me when she handed me this binder was, we expected to release bombshells. We expected to find the dark stuff, the dirty stuff, the names of the people that were involved in what Epstein was doing. And when these files were put on my desk and she was relating how she looked through them. She was relating how she looked through them. She said, it wasn't what I was expecting. And I said, is this it? Is this it? And she said, something is not right here. Now, just because she had that feeling, she still wanted to not only fulfill the president's order to release these, she wanted to do it in a timely manner. And so they prepared this binder. They were going to release what's in this binder, and I'll show you what's in it. It's also going to be available online here shortly. so that all of us can go through it. And we're going to talk about too how this has bypassed the legacy media and how this is the Trump administration is harnessing new media to release this sort of exclusive, which is a good thing. But late last night, after Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel prepared this binder, the Epstein Files, a source called Attorney General Pam Bondi, a source from within the FBI, from within the Southern District of New York. And this source told Pam Bondi that even though she had been told that this was the extent of the Epstein Files, it's not the extent of the Epstein Files, that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of other documents and files and pieces of evidence that the SDNY, the most corrupt district in the United States, was hiding. They were hiding from President Trump. They were hiding from Vice President Vance. They were hiding from Attorney General Pam Bondi. They were hiding from FBI Director Kash Patel. They were hiding from you. And so you should... Is it?
I think she sort of dropped service there. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something a bit shady going on there.
Yeah. So, one of the great things about doing these live things is I get to actually respond directly to some of you asshats in the comments. So, John King here, you freaking bigot. All right, anybody that comes up, number one, I just want to make it clear, I've never seen this name ever in any of the comments, so don't sit there and act like you're some longtime subscriber. Cover up the small hats goy. Can you say anything more anti-Semitic? Laughing my ass off. This dude is coping so hard. I have to unsubscribe to this bullshit. Well, you're not subscribed to begin with, but you're not going to have to unsubscribe because I'm banning you because you're a douchebag. So there's that, and I don't know. We'll go on from there, but there's a little bit of gratification when you get to not just respond in the comment, but directly.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't really help people like me that are trying to be honest and look at it because, without any hatred or whatever. But
well, I think we need to present all reasonable sides to this for the most part. And the fact is, I think we need to reel some people in and say, look, this is the truth. And the fact of the matter is there's never been, you guys, there's been a bunch of circumstantial things put into the media where it's somehow, this is my problem with this whole Mossad narrative, right? There's a whole bunch of things that have been sprinkled in the media. Not one, and I've never heard the CIA linked to that. And there is zero chance that our own intelligence agencies aren't involved in this. Is zero chance. I'm telling you that, folks. So
I don't say it's zero. It'd probably be very small, like 1%.
No, there's zero chance. No, when you have Secret Service flying to without a doubt, Chris, I'm just telling you, I come from this community. I'm telling you right now, there is zero chance when you have heads of the United States, when you have presidents going there, when you have billionaires going there is zero chance that there is not intense, if not physical surveillance being conducted, definitely intense electronic surveillance being conducted on the island. Absolute zero chance. Now, I
wasn't arguing with that. They definitely know about it, but whether they're sort of as involved in Mossad, like if Mossad's involved. Oh, sorry, maybe I misunderstood your point. I thought you were saying if Mossad's involved, then definitely the CIA's involved. But maybe you're just saying it could be Mossad's involved, but the CIA definitely is aware of stuff.
I don't know if Mossad's involved or not. I don't doubt that they are, given all the other things that I'm telling you. I think Mossad's involved. I think MI6 is involved. I think freaking the CIA is involved. I think all of these intel, because we have VIPs from all of these countries come into this place on a regular basis. You're telling me that if Prince Andrew is going to one of these places, they don't do a site survey, they don't do at least some electronic surveillance to make sure that they have some sort of idea of what he's going to attend and start vetting the people that they know are going to be in attendance, and then they're going to do a link chart. All right, that's what we call it, folks, where it's okay, we know he's going, we know Prince Andrew's going, we got to figure out, is it possible that he's going to get compromised by people around him? So they start finding out. Trust me, they get the freaking guest list. And then they do background checks and information research on every single one of those persons that are going to be there. So, there's almost no chance. There is zero chance that the CIA wasn't involved. I think it's a very small chance that all these other ones. But the point is all we've ever heard and it feels like a distraction to me that all we've ever heard is Mossad, and Epstein in Israel. How about Epstein, the CIA? How about Epstein, MI6? And he may have been brokering information to all of these, he may have been an asset to all these folks. I don't know, but you can't just say Mossad without saying CIA when you're talking about what we're talking about right here.
Yeah, but as I said, if we haven't really looked into it, like it might be the case that there are sort of more definitive claims linking it to Mossad, which aren't there as the CIA, which could be, like as I said at the start, it makes sense. It's possible that, yeah, we hear Mossad all the time. It's a distraction because we hear it all the time, but they cover up the real truth or the full story. But a counterpoint to that, it could be that there's a lot of evidence linking it to Mossad, which isn't as available to the CIA.
I'm not arguing with you at all.
That could be a reason why we see Mossad, because there's just more publicly available evidence tying it to Mossad, and that's why we see that more than the CIA angle, possibly.
So, again, playing devil's advocate specifically with you, you believe that Epstein is a Mossad or likely a Mossad asset.
Possibly. As I said, I have to.
You want to lean that way. I think that's fine. Like, it's a personal bias of yours. That's fine. And we all have personal biases, but have you ever seen any sort of real good tangible evidence that says that's true?
No, but to be fair, I haven't looked into it very much.
Okay, that's fine. All I'm saying is that we've heard things repeated time and time again, and that is that's a technique, right? It's said enough where people start believing it. I'm not saying it's not true. It could absolutely be true.
Another reason why I'd lean that way, though, is because I know a little bit about that Whitney Webb, and she does seem quite a good researcher, and she's done these 2 volumes on this, and apparently, people that have read it that said, Whitney Webb's book has the receipts tying it to Mossad. I have no idea whether that's true or not because I haven't read it, but I just know from what I know of Whitney Webb, she seems somewhat credible to me, so that's why I'm leaning towards that.
I don't doubt. I know that our own intelligence agencies were involved with this to the point that I would need to see evidence, physical evidence, tell me that they weren't. Like, that's what I would need to see. And there's no way to, nothing that's going to ever exist. So my point is, like, how come we haven't had these journalists go out there and say, like, at least present that point, at least, like, yeah, you know what, Mossad was probably involved in this, but there's no chance the CIA was. Like, anybody with half a brain would know that. And that's all I'm saying. Like, it's fine. Mossad was probably involved, but the CIA was too, and we never hear that we never hear that part of the story.
Yeah, I hear. I can only say what I said before. Maybe that's just because there's more stuff to grab onto with Mossad. Maybe there's nothing really to tie it back to the CIA, but the assumption that they would know because they know these things.
I mean, there may be zero evidence that either one of them, like, they could both be heavily involved, and we'd never see any physical evidence or any evidence whatsoever, really even circumstantial evidence that would prove it or would even indicate it. Like they could have 4 guys there working, they could have that entire place bugged. You would never know. They definitely are doing, electronic surveillance on them. I mean, they definitely, if they had computers that were hooked to anything, like, those have been scrubbed. There's no doubt about it.
We can just go back to, it's sort of related, but we'll go back a little bit to the Monica Lewinsky thing. I just look for the first thing I can find. As I said, there's another one that I haven't looked into heaps, but there does seem to be quite a bit of reporting on Netanyahu said to have Times of Israel. They're not, this isn't Haaretz, the left wing. I think this is a more mainstream Israel paper. Netanyahu said to have offered Lewinsky tapes for Pollard. Now, Pollard, before we get there, he was a spy. I just checked it up on ChatGPT. He was a former US Navy intelligence analyst, was charged with espionage for spying for Israel. In 1987, he was arrested and later pleaded guilty to providing Israel with classified US government documents, including military secrets and intelligence information, which he did without authorization. These materials were given in exchange for financial compensation, and his actions compromised US national security. He was sentenced to life in prison. After serving 30 years, he was released on parole in 2015. His cases remained a subject of controversy, blah, 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 blah. And when he was released, by the way, side note, Netanyahu basically rolled out the red carpet for him and welcomed him on the... he was there to meet him when he was released, he flew straight back to Israel and was greeted by Netanyahu on the tarmac. He's an enemy to America, but a good friend of Netanyahu's. But the story here, as I said, I haven't fully looked into it, but there's quite a bit of stuff on this where I think before the Lewinsky stuff came out, supposedly, so this one story is talking about a book, and of course the book could be complete nonsense, all right, but a new book on the Clinton family claims that Israel tapped White House phones, blackmailed the president with recordings of the intern. And I think it was, I just skimmed through it, but it basically said, I think it was during one of the peace talks there with Israel and Palestine, Israel was sort of using that to get Pollard out. So I think there might be something.
Oh, okay. Do you think that the U.S. is not doing espionage on Israel?
I mean, they probably are, but it's because
we're not probably. We 1,000% are. Like, it's not.
Well, you'd hope so. You give them all that money, you want to see how your investment's going, but it doesn't work the other way. Israel isn't really. It's a different circumstance. Israel's the beneficiary of U.S. support, and they're spying on the hand that feeds them in a way.
I mean, we do espionage, and we're stealing secrets from, Britain. We like all of our allies. Like this is the unspoken game of the world. Like I don't know, I don't know. Is there anybody in Israel that's been convicted of espionage for the United States? I don't know. Somebody Google that. I wouldn't doubt it if it's true. That's right.
I wasn't necessarily going to bring up this story before, but there was a story going around in the Australian press recently. I don't know if you've heard, there was an Australian soldier of 20 years who was sort of being investigated and found to be a security risk. Where is it? This one here. Australian Defence Force officer stripped of security clearance over loyalty to Israel. So ASIO, it's like our CIA, I guess. He was at risk of being exploited by Mossad. I think he was an officer of some kind for 20 years, and he took a trip and was sort of secret about it. He didn't disclose it, to Israel to get some kind of self-defense training or something. And apparently our government, at least, thought that this is a recruiting spot for potential recruiting spot for Mossad of sort of people who are sort of friendly to Israel from overseas, and they sort of do these self-defense courses. Apparently this is a breeding ground for Mossad recruitment, which is a risk, and he didn't mention that he went there. And they did an investigation, and he basically said, he basically came clean. He's like, I'm loyal to Israel. He was a Jewish guy. Mm-hmm. So he basically says, I'm loyal to Israel. And so in the investigation, when he was investigated by ASIO, he told them Zionism is an essential theme within Judaism. Judaism mandates the loyalty of a Jew to his people and to the land of Israel. So I think his security, because he basically said, and I think he said somewhere, somewhere in here, he basically told him if I would send Mossad's Australian security secrets. So that's why they took his clearance away.
Okay.
Yeah, so he told ASIO, allowing Jews to serve with the Australian Defence Force must come with the understanding that the Jew will have a level of loyalty for the Jewish nation and for the state of Israel. So he was sort of stepped down. But I think he's still working as part of the ADF. But that just reminded me of, I know that's a bit of a tangent, but just in terms of sort of spying risks, that's just a story that happened this week, or came out this sort of week. And he's still working for the ADF. They've taken his security clearance, but even though he said, actually, see if I can bring up, I think I saved that as well. A little, this happens there, bear with me.
Let's read again.
This is one of our politicians was sort of asking someone related to ASIO whether he's still working for the ADF, even though he said, basically, he's sort of more loyal to Israel.
I'll just
and I think he is, spoiler alert. They took away his security
from
clearance, but he's still part of the ADF.
ASIO's submission, which was endorsed by the tribunal, it was that in ASIO's assessment, there are real concerns about the applicant's loyalty to Australia. Admiral Johnson, is HWMW still a member of the ADF?
I'll get the Chief of Army to respond.
Senator, the member is in the inactive reserve pending administrative action.
So still a member of the ADF.
Yes.
I'll just read again.
Yeah, so there was that. And just before I get off the subject, I should mention, like, this is sort of a little bit uncomfortable because this is, if you go to the, like, the official definition of anti-Semitism adopted by the US government, it's got a list of what they are. And yeah, so this one here, accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations, that's textbook definition anti-Semitism. Yeah, that's what this guy was saying. So I was a little bit, I just thought this was a very interesting story. Because, sorry.
Oh, what is this document? I'm sorry. Where did these rules? Where were they printed?
So this is there's sort of a definition of anti-Semitism. I forget what. Yeah, IHRA. I forget what that stands for. Oh yeah, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. They've had this definition of anti-Semitism for quite a while, and the US government basically adopted it as official. And then I think they also passed some kind of laws.
And for the record, I think this is stupid. Yeah. I think anytime you're trying to regulate in any way is freaking. But just to clarify, like, we do spy on Israel. U.S. spying programs scooped up communication between members of Congress and Israeli leaders, giving the White House insight into Israel's lobbying of U.S. lawmakers. But the point of this is, and they're going on to say, they're basically different lawmakers were talking to Netanyahu and other members of the Israeli government, and blah 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 blah. But the point here is this is, again, we are absolutely monitoring their information. We absolutely have them bugged. We absolutely have them. I'm sure we have compromising information on multiple Israeli leaders, including Bibi Netanyahu. And that's what we do. And that's part of every government's job, because Benjamin Netanyahu is a friend today, but if he pisses off Trump tomorrow, Trump's going to throw him under the bus. And that's what we do with our allies, right? I mean, that's just part of this international game that we've been playing for a long time. So you're not revealing anything new to me. It's not some crazy revelation that there's Israelis or people that are loyal to Israel spying for the U.S. Guess what? There's jackasses all over the United States that are spying and doing things and planning operations for Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So, I mean, nothing really changes. And the same thing goes with every other country as far as I'm concerned. You better believe we have British spies here in the U.S. that do get information. And by the way, all the time overseas, when you are at embassies and consulates and you're constantly working with, buying through other embassies and consulates, they are, in one way or another, either eliciting information from you directly and or they're getting information and reporting them back to their own intel agencies. We do it all the time, all around the world. Our friends are only our friends for as long as they're our friends. And having information on your friends is why you keep your enemies close and your friends even closer, or your enemies even closer, because we are always getting information about our friends. For number one, it allows us to stay friends, to see if they're plotting behind us. Number two, if they decide to pull something squirrely, we have ammunition. It's just what we all do. So like that to me isn't like some huge revelation. It shouldn't be to anybody, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I take your point. I think there is something special with the Pollard thing of special military and national security secrets or whatever. That might be different than that example. I started that. I was going to bring that up later, but yeah.
I'll bring that up right now.
Maybe the emus have. Maybe we have secrets about the emu superpower. They've got something amazing in warfare that can be deployed. Because they took on the Australian Army, or not the Australian Army, but an Australian culling attempt.
I think Donnie Darko is saying it best. We literally got this information, or I got this information literally like 2 hours before this podcast. I don't know if it was that long, and threw this stuff together. I literally went through it in more detail with you guys than I did as I was back there, just turning it into a media thing. But I do think this is ultimately a nothing burger, and it doesn't surprise me. Secret email stuff. It doesn't surprise me. It's kind of what I expected, and it's definitely what I expect from the JFK files. I think we're going to. It's going to be more propaganda. I mean, they've had 80 years to manipulate that data. We don't know what they're holding on to. We don't know what information they've planted, and the same thing goes with all these Epstein files. Like there is, there's been no chain of custody on any of this information. There's no way for us to validate if it's true or not, and it is what it is. I know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect much, God offspring. I know there's more to come. With the Epstein files, and look, I do believe these types of things happen. Like we're constantly being manipulated and gaslighted, folks. It wouldn't surprise me at all if these 2,000 pages of documents were completely fabricated. They were held back on purpose. A whistleblower was all engineered for a whistleblower to talk about this, so they think they're getting the facts, and we hand over this 2,000 pages of bullshit that was always meant to be released, and now like, oh God, you guys got the real information, and really it's just more bullshit. None of that is outside the realm of very likely possibilities.
Yeah, I haven't really got my hopes up. I don't really trust that Anna Luna too much. The first I've heard of her is with the Trump assassination in Butler.
Laura Luna?
Anna Luna, she's sort of at the head of one of these sort of declassification things that's going to release JFK.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
The Congresswoman.
I didn't know who. She looks like a pothead. I don't even know who she is.
She looks good. I'll give her that. But
she looks like, well, whatever. I don't know. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
That made me bring up those. What did she did? Those swimsuit modeling photos or whatever.
Cash Patel, his is a girlfriend. Good on him. She's a pretty lady. Not nearly as pretty as my wife, but she's a pretty lady.
But that Anna Luna, I know because with the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, pretty early on, we had footage of that Crooks sort of walking around the building that he would later climb up on about an hour before the shooting. You've probably seen that footage. It came out pretty much straight away of Crooks sort of walking around in a video. It was filmed from on the other side of the fence on the rally, but you could see him sort of near the AGR building walking around. And that came out pretty early. And then like months later, this Anna Luna, she puts out a still image from that video and says, I've just gotten this never before seen image from someone, and it looks like he's carrying a gun. And in this particular still frame, the shadow might have made it look like he was carrying a gun.
Yeah.
He didn't have any gun on him. I think he put his backpack later.
Around.
Yeah. So she came out with that like that it was a scoop. And even Dan Bongino, which I was a bit disappointed at, he ran his show. He's like, oh, we've got this new photo. And yeah, it kind of looks like he's got a gun. It's like, aren't you following this? This video's been out for like a month. But anyway, and then now she's head of this declassification thing, and she came out straight away with the JFK. I'm pretty sure she said, I'm not 100% sure, but she said something along the lines of, she said, I'm sure there were two shooters with JFK, which is a bit of a bombshell to hear from someone in the official government position. I'm pretty sure she was saying from the document she's seen, it's clear there were two shooters. So it'll be interesting whether we see any of that or...
Well,
where that's coming from, but I'm just a little bit suspicious on it.
Look, yeah. I mean, first of all, like if we're going by like freaking Dan Bongino's put out really bad information when it came to Butler. Like there's been a whole host of people, including Trump himself. He's like 400 and something yards shot, blah, blah, blah. Like there's been all kinds of just bad information that's come from Butler that, so I don't know if that is that's just a standard for competent people within our government. I mean, what I can say is I'll take any of those people that got some tidbits of information wrong or misdiagnosed a picture over any of the freaking left-wing asshats that, were in the Biden administration all day, every day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. It's not it's just a pet peeve of mine. It's not a serious condemnation of the lady, but I'm just saying that's really all I know about her. That and that she did this swimsuit photos. That's and now she's head of the thing. That's really all I know about. Annalena?
Well,
So
I mean, you did have some information you wanted to prepare, that you had prepared that you were going to present tonight. I think we've kind of come to the end of any substantive information that we're getting out of this information dump.
Yes. So most of the stuff I was preparing was sort of related to the Ukraine deal. So I had some good stuff on that. I might as well play a little bit of that just to mix it up a little bit.
Tee it up, throw it in here. See what you got. Are we getting our money back?
Yeah.
That's all I really want to know.
Apparently Zelensky's on the way to sign the deal.
Yeah.
I just heard Trump say before that, yep, Zelensky should be here tomorrow and he'll sign the deal and we'll get our money back.
Ending the war. I guess we can go live now on Instagram. Why don't you remind me to go live on Instagram? That's all right. Then that's all the good stuff.
I didn't want to offend you by suggesting you simple things that you need to do, because I assume you'd be like, don't tell me. You think I don't know how to do that? I think I need reminding to do that. But anyway, I'll know next time to just be like, all right, Gary, do this and do that.
By the way, folks, if you guys missed our podcast from yesterday with Doc Z, because I'm going to butcher his name. You guys missed a hell of a podcast. You need to go watch that. That was one of the best podcasts, I think, information-wise, one of the best podcasts we've ever done. Him and Dr. Sean Baker, some of the best information we've ever had. So if you haven't watched that, that's definitely worth going to watch. I'm actually remastering that, if you will, redoing that, and we're going to present that. I'm going to republish that as just a standalone video. YouTube, for whatever reason, they do not like live streams, and I can only speculate to a few reasons why, but they don't like live streams. You're never going to get a live stream that's going to be as popular due to the algorithm as a standard video. So I'm reposting that. Same thing I'm doing with Dr. Sean Baker's. We're going to have him on again. I didn't know until just prior to going live yesterday. He has a ton of research. It's not just his research, but from a different. He is much more tied into the government and other people that are at a very high level investigating the origins of COVID than I knew. So we're going to have him on again and talk about that as well. And the other thing we're going to be talking about is transgender and gender transition. He has a lot of information on that as well, and I think those are definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I missed that one too. I was almost going to suggest, even with our show, maybe it might be a good idea to because the algorithm doesn't like live, to even take little sections and upload them as videos and see how that
I already did. I uploaded one section, like a 5-minute section today, that I thought was worth just talking about Ozempic and his thoughts on Ozempic. No, we could actually get him. He was talking about he's working with another guy. I forgot his name now, but he's done a ton of research. Again, he's working with HHS and NIH, and he has the receipts to all of the weaponization of COVID and the gain of function of COVID. And he's going to come on. So I think it actually would be a really good episode to have with us, all four of us talking. I think it would be really good.
Oh, yeah. I'll be down for it. Yeah, I'll check out the previous ones as well. So I won't have time to get through it because I went through this sort of presser, but there's too many to go through, so I won't be able to show all of it. But there's just one bit here because he says some Ukraine stuff, but I'll leave the Ukraine stuff for the sort of the next presser that's a bit more recent. This is Tuesday, I think, America time. And then I'll go to the Wednesday one. And then the more recent one with Keir Starmer, or how you pronounce it?
You could
just from this first one.
Real time. It's just real time.
Not really.
America.
Yeah. See, he's got Gulf of America back there, but I'm pretty sure if I load up my Google Maps, it still says Gulf of Mexico, brackets, Gulf of America. So, the whole world doesn't necessarily revolve around you guys, even though it sort of does in some ways. But
we're going to rename the Pacific Ocean West America Ocean and the Atlantic the East American Ocean.
Yeah. And then you'll ban all journalists who don't adopt that name. Like apparently Trump, he sort of kicked out that Associated Press reporter who won't call it Gulf of America.
You don't want to report the truth. You shouldn't be in the room. I mean, that's what it's called. You don't want to report the truth? Get on out.
I don't
know. Want to put on misinformation and call it the Gulf of Mexico? That's not what it's called. You're just putting out.
It is to some. In fact, it is to pretty much the whole rest of the world. I don't know how many countries have said, "Yep, we agree it's now called Gulf
It's
America.
not yours to agree with. It's ours. It's the Gulf of America. Like, you're lucky. All of you other pissant countries should just be lucky we haven't taken your shit over with. By the grace of God and our kindness, we're like, we're going to let you be a sovereign nation. You're welcome.
Yeah, sorry. Well, excuse my ingratitude on that one, but even in this clip, I don't have it queued up. But he sort of, at one point, he turned to the map and he sort of said, "I'm getting a bit teary-eyed, just looking at that. Isn't it beautiful, the Gulf of America?" And he sort of said, "Look at that coastline. It's basically all America." But I'm pretty sure if you look at the map, it's sort of half-half, isn't it? It's half America, half Mexico. It's basically even. But
it's literally 1,700 miles of coastline in both directions. But we're more important, so we get the name.
Yeah. Just quickly, so this is kind of funny. He has answered a few questions already about Ukraine. I just thought this is funny because he sort of starts to answer another one about Zelensky, but then he gets interrupted because someone brings in these hats, and just straight away he's like, basically stops talking about Zelensky. He's like, get a load of these hats. It's kind of just a funny moment to lighten the mood a little bit.
We'll start in about 2 weeks.
Mr. President, do you see a more active role for Zelensky now, given the status?
I hope so. I mean, look, I think that we want to get that country back on its feet. Right now, it's been destroyed. It's so here. Give me this here. Give me all of them.
More important news.
Look. Yes. See that? Trump was right about everything. It just came in. Somebody sent. I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right?
Like,
but
by
we
the way,
were pretty much. You want one? Are you allowed to take one? Because
sorry, what was that?
He's like, oh, and by the way, the link's down below. Go get yours today.
he'll consider it. I know him well. He's sort of a stiff. Brian, you're not a stiff. He's sort of a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a free hand.
Always say yes to the president.
Funny is that? So he tried to give it to someone. He's like, no, I'll be right. Like, he's a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a hat. That's a bit of shade.
That was definitely some well-placed shade.
And then he had his first cabinet meeting with a few more sort of Ukraine comments. Play a bit of that, shall we?
President Zelensky is going to be coming on Friday. That's now
The audio is a bit
confirmed,
funny,
and
but
we're going to be signing an agreement, which will be a very big agreement. And I want to thank Howard and Scott for the job you guys did.
I think it's still in transport.
Putting it together.
Hasn't quite arrived yet.
Amazing job. And that'll be on rare earth and other things. And as you know, we're in for probably $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. And that's a big difference. So we're in for probably 3 times as much, and yet it's very important to everybody, but Europe's very close. We have a big ocean separating us, so it's very important for Europe, and they hopefully will step up and do maybe more than they're doing, and maybe a lot more. The previous administration put us in a very bad position, but we've been able to make a deal where we're going to get our money back, and we're going to get a lot of money in the future, and I think that's appropriate because we have taxpayers that shouldn't be footing the bill, and they shouldn't be footing the bill at more than the Europeans are paying. So it's all been worked out. We're happy about it, and I think that
Funny you say the other hat. Chris is
very
wrong.
importantly, we're going to be able to make a deal. Most importantly, by far,
Jeff
we're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine to stop killing people.
Okay, now we're getting a little bit extreme.
To stop killing young Russian soldiers and young Ukrainian soldiers and other people in addition in the towns and cities.
Hey, I can bring up comments too. So if you want,
you
do a bit of Chris's right, I'll bring them up as well.
It was going nowhere until this administration.
And in fact, I might start. Gary wants to bring up the Gary's right one. I can
Putin
remove
in 2
it.
years, and so we'll keep you advised. Before we begin the cabinet,
I'm basically saying share the sucker to both of us. Right? Don't do it 100%, Gary.
A couple of people say a few things, but most importantly,
What do we call that? Misinformation, disinformation,
this is a gentleman who's
malinformation,
going
whatever.
places, the head of HUD, and he's going to say, you all know him?
Oh, yeah, then
You're going to say,
they bring someone at the start of the cabinet meeting who says grace, which I don't think I've really seen before. But then there's a bit more about. Oh, this is interesting. At one point, he basically said he's asked about US guarantees. Stay with me.
AM said you were talking over Trump. That was very rude, Chris. It's weird that
Sorry,
you say.
Trump, but there's.
This struck me funny what you said. You said then somebody came in and said grace. I was thinking someone saying grace like before a meal and not just saying a prayer. But anyways, It's like he came in and said, "Thank you for the food." I know what your point is.
Well,
I don't know how you guys
okay.
do. I mean, you guys are a bunch of heathens in Australia for the most part, anyhow. So,
yeah, I guess that.
I appreciate the effort.
Might be the excuse. Okay, he gave a prayer. All right, how's that?
Here, everybody wants to come here, especially since November 5th.
Mr. President, how can you
All these people will be vetted, okay?
Mr. President, on Ukraine, can you talk a little bit about what type of security guarantees you're willing to make?
Well, I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that because it's in, we're talking about Europe as their next door neighbor. But we're going to make sure everything goes well. And as you know, we'll be making we'll be really partnering with Ukraine in terms of rare earth. We very much need rare earth. They have great rare earth. We'll be working with Secretary Burgum and with Chris. You'll be working on that together. And we're going to be able to have tremendous, this gives us, because we don't have that much of it here. We have some, but we don't have that much. And we need a lot more.
I do find it amusing how he sort of, it upsets people that he's sort of not being hard enough against Russia and he's not giving Ukraine US security guarantees. And he's so sort of unfazed by all that he responds to these concerns by straight away talking about dealing with Russia and getting minerals and trading with Russia. When in reality, when other people want sanctions, they want no trade with Russia. It's
I think
I love just how baller he is.
Constant trolling. I think he is. That's not like. I think that is completely part of a strategy. He knows what irritates him, and he just does it more.
I'm on the other end of it. Like, I didn't want to mention it too much because it is kind of annoying. But on his Truth Social, he did that video of Gaza, where it's like a hotel. I don't know if you saw it, the AI video, and everyone's on the beach. Trump and Netanyahu, they're like lying on the beach in Gaza. Like, it is funny in a dark humor kind of way, which I like. And it's trolling me that time because that's like, you're putting up hotels over dead bodies and it's kind of immoral, but it's funny in a dark humor sort of way, and it's just trolling. It rolls me up a little bit, but I sort of understand where he's coming from, and that's why I can laugh when he does it to other people.
Yeah. But, all hotels were built
really propel us.
Were built where? Sorry.
On battlefields at one time or another.
Yeah, not so. There's usually a bit of time, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
And
you just got to rip the Band-Aid off.
Level to lead in every way. We're leading right now with AI. We're leading with everything right now, but we need resources. We have to double our electric capacity. We have to do many things. We have to really triple, if you think of it,
talking about
the electric capacity from what we have right now.
Russia
has. So I just say this. So the deal we're making gets us. It brings us great wealth. We get back the money that we've spent, and we hope that we're going to be able to settle this up. We want to settle it. We want to stop. I tell you what, I'm doing it for two reasons, but the number one reason by far is to watch all these people being killed. I see pictures every week, from I assume satellite pictures mostly, but there's some pictures on site of thousands of soldiers that are being killed. They're being decimated because equipment today, military equipment, is so powerful and so devastating. And number one, I want to see people stop. And they're not from here, they're from primarily two other countries. And then, by the way, let's talk about the Middle East. We got to solve that problem too. And that's come a long way. We're doing very well in that also. A lot of things are happening on that. But I'm watching soldiers being killed, Ukrainian and Russian soldiers being killed.
I do like how he always humanizes both soldiers. Because other people will be like, oh, who cares if Russian soldiers are dying? They're orcs, they're evil, they're this, that, and the other. He's like, look, Ukrainian and Russian soldiers are dying, and that's a bad thing, which I like.
100%.
So it goes on for a little bit there, but I think it's similar stuff that we've heard. He does have a comment a little bit later about Taiwan, which I did like. Because I don't know if people saw this. He was sort of, a stupid journalist tries to goad him into like basically doing another red line with Taiwan. I'm kind of sick of all the red lines and the tripwires to automatically set off war. And he doesn't take the bait. Yeah.
I mean, even the Gulf of America thing was more or less a troll, and he just had the power to make it immediately happen. I mean, it's freaking hilarious, So, and just like, Jeff Johnson, one of the few moments that he has a moment of clarity, he did point out again, this is the continent. We're not saying that it's not the Gulf of the USA. It is more fair to say that this is the Gulf of America because we are, North America, Central America, South America. So, it is a better name as opposed to just giving it to a shitty country down there that makes amazing burritos. I'm just joking. I love Mexico. Great. They don't even eat
That is a
burritos.
good point. It would be even better if you guys didn't just take the name of two continents and apply it to yourself. Like, we are America.
I mean, we are. We just need to go ahead and make Canada the 51st state. We'll make Mexico, I don't know, something. Our southern, you know what? What we should do is just turn Mexico into like our entire defense apparatus. That's where we do some. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll make it like a region of America. I'm not sure they're.
Good luck with that. I don't know how keen. It's not really my business as long as you just stay away from this beautiful country, all right? Because then it's we'll apply what we've learned from the emus to fight off the Americans. Okay. Anyway, so here's the comment on Taiwan.
I think he's doing it to, number one, irritate his opponents, and I think it's funny. It is him trolling though. Yeah. He's 100% trolling and intentionally provoking the crazy people that hate him. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, so here's this question about: will you go to war for Taiwan?
Levels like we are right now. Okay.
Mr. President, you've been very clear in saying that as long as you're president, Iran will never get a nuclear weapon.
That's true.
Is it also your policy that as long as you're president, China will never take Taiwan by force?
I never comment on that. I don't comment on anything because I don't want to ever put myself in that position. And if I said it, I certainly wouldn't be saying it to you. I'd be saying it to other people, maybe people around this table, and very specific people around this table. So I don't want to put myself in that position. But I can tell you what.
Kind of a perfect answer, because he's basically saying, well, no, I won't publicly declare that if China invades Taiwan, then we will go to war. But at the same time, he's sort of not giving him the green light, because he's sort of hinting, well, if I could be talking to my defense secretary or whoever about dealing with that. That's a pretty good answer.
I have a great relationship with President Xi. I've had a great relationship with him. We want them to come in and invest. I see so many things saying that we don't want China in this country. That's not right. We want them to invest in the United States. That's good. That's a lot of money coming in, and we'll invest in China. We'll do things with China. The relationship we'll have with China will be a very good one. I think
he continues on that line, which I like. He's sort of more diplomatic. I don't like the sort of warmongering against China and Russia and any country, really. I mean, you got to obviously there's a balance, but
what do you mean warmongering against China?
Well, no, okay, maybe warmongering isn't the right word, but just being hostile, making hostile comments about China being an enemy.
Well, they are. I mean, do you want to call them something they're not, because they are? I mean,
well, no, but you know what I mean? Like the idea that we can't deal with China, and they're like an enemy we're at war with. Or could go to war with.
I think we are at war with them, and I think that's the problem that we've had with the last probably 20 presidents, is that we haven't recognized that. China has become what America was. I mean, America was the industrial producer of the entire world at one time, where you got excellent but cheap goods. That's what made America great. And what's happened is, because of greedy politicians, stupid ideas, we've pushed industry out of the United States, and I have a real problem with unions, and like all these things had made producing anything so expensive, so hard, that we've pushed these companies out of the United States, and then China filled that void. And China does intend to overtake us militarily and economically, and to pretend that they're anything but an enemy to us, I think is insane.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that at war. I mean, yeah, it's an economic war, but like war generally would be like armies. That's how I see war. At war, you're fighting each other with weapons and stuff. But I suppose you can have economic war and stuff like that.
So the Chinese literally say that, like, they're at war with the U.S. They look at this completely different than us, and their intent is to destroy us. And look at some of the language they use, some of the teachings that they have, and how they plan.
How though? Destroy how? by
economically and
competing
ultimately militarily. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that they are going to come in and invade the United States. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that they want to, in their mind, their intent is to destroy America economically. And they do look at it as a war. And that's the problem, is like, we're playing these games over there and they're deadly serious. They're deadly serious about outproducing us from a military standpoint. And they're deadly serious about outproducing and maneuvering us from
Isn't that mutual though? Isn't America serious about outcompeting them militarily and economically?
No, we haven't been. We haven't been for the last many years. Trump is the first one to get in there and says,
"Oh, but you should be. You should be in theory, like China should be, from the Chinese nationalist, patriotic Chinese position, right?" Like,
yeah. Like that's the problem, is that America hasn't been taking anybody seriously. It's like we built up these coffers of these abilities, capabilities. Hey, we're the greatest superpower in the world, and now we're just giving money left and right. We're making bad trade deals, and like, oh yeah, you know what? We're gonna have a freaking $6 trillion deficit with this country on trade deals, but that's okay because we're American, we can afford it. And you know what? I'm going to be good friends with Tony Blair, whoever the hell we're talking about. Like America and our politicians have been selling out Americans left and right for the last 40, 50 years. And that's the problem. And China is an enemy. And yeah, we can keep our friends closer, our enemies closer. Like we can definitely outcompete them. The way that we stay on equal footing or stay above or prevent some sort of actual military conflict is by outcompeting and taking China seriously, period. Because if we allow them to continue to take advantage of this the way that we have, number one, America will no longer be a nation. I really do feel like that most of the Democrat Party is sold out to China. I think that many of these corporations for the last many years, Google, you name all the large tech companies, I think they have been preparing for and thinking about, basically, you know what, we are ultimately going to be beholden to China, not the United States. I really do believe that. And I think that's what many corporations have been doing, because number one, most of their production in one form or another is in China.
Yeah. So yeah, before when you said, China is trying to outcompete America militarily and economically, and you said America hasn't been doing that. And I said, but you should be. And you said, well, we haven't been, but we should be. And yeah, so I guess Jeff is sort of agreeing with me in a way. This is why I'm bringing up a little bit of Jeff and Chris, agreeing on something. Yes, America should be trying to outcompete China military and economically. I don't blame China for wanting to be first. I just don't want them to get there. That's completely fair enough.
I guess
completely agree.
Yeah, I guess my point is we haven't been taking them seriously, and I don't think we've really looked at the cost of what the consequences is if we don't. And I think, we could end up having at a point to where, China hasn't done things militarily other than possibly, kind of threaten to take over Taiwan. I do think that if they continue to grow at the rate that they will in 40, 50 years, we could be so beholden to China and be crushed so hard economically that we wouldn't be able to fight them if they did decide to invade or whatever else, right? I think we have our entire existence on the line if we don't outcompete China, and we've had a political class that has been selling out to China for a really long time. That's my point.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing wrong with America trying to be sort of number one and compete in all kind of ways. I'm just worried about an actual physical war.
And that's the reality is, like, if America falls, like, everybody wants to hate on America, and that's fine, but we are the best option, right? Because if America falls, Europe's going to fall. This entire continent falls. Like we are the foundation of the current modern society that the entire world depends on, and that is a fact. And we are losing that exponentially almost on a yearly basis, and that's going to be a real problem.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I got a bit more from Trump.
Chinese state, if America falls, that's what's going to happen to Australia. You're gonna have to recruit the kangaroos and emus to fight for you. I don't know if I think they'll go Chinese.
I think that might be China's Achilles heel, actually, though. If it comes down to it, maybe you'll need whatever secret powers they have.
Kangaroos?
Yeah, they got, I don't know, maybe Chinese, I don't know, I can't think of a stupid example. I was going to try and say somehow the kangaroo kicks somehow at the right angle for Chinese tanks or something, but it's just, as I was saying it didn't really sound too good, so I tried to abandon it halfway through. Let's just move on to, where are we? A bit more Trump, shall we? So yeah, this is just recent. This is not too long ago. Yeah.
We have Russia. We have Ukraine. I think we're very well advanced. I think Russia has been acting very well. We have representatives.
I'll have to work out how to mix this stuff better, because we can sort of turn videos down, but I'm not sure how to turn them up. I've got to rewire something or whatever. You can probably do it with your little extra hardware or something with videos you share maybe, but I haven't got it quite set up yet.
You need a mixer.
And Scott and Marco. And
I do have one, I
JD,
just haven't
we're
set it
all
up properly
involved,
yet.
every one of
And
us,
it's kind of basic.
A lot more.
So I might need to upgrade.
But I think we're very well advanced on a deal, but we have not made a deal yet. So I don't like to talk about peacekeeping until we have a deal. I like to get things done. I don't want to give it the bad luck sign. We don't want to do that. But we've had very good talks with Russia, and we've had very good talks, as you know, with Ukraine. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, does the Prime Minister have to choose a closer relationship with the EU as he is?
I'll just sort of skip to the good stuff. Another Ukraine comment about 6 minutes in somewhere.
Mr. Starmer, the Prime Minister, has said that he believes that Vladimir Putin would be at risk of invading Ukraine again without a sufficient backstop. Do you think that Vladimir Putin would be likely to invade again in the event of a peace deal?
I don't think so. I think when we have a deal, it's going to be the deal. I don't think if I didn't win the election, I don't think we'd be even talking to Putin right now or anybody else. I think it would just, you know, I don't know if you're looking at the stats, but thousands of people are being killed a week, soldiers mostly, because the towns have been destroyed. But thousands of soldiers. This was a very bad week, by the way. I get the stats. And you're talking about
usual stuff Trump says about, you know, just how many people are dying. I think there's another comment somewhere here about whether Putin can stick to a deal or not.
Please, ma'am, go ahead.
Mr. President, what would you be willing to do if Vladimir Putin did not stick to the terms of any deal on Ukraine?
If he not what?
If he did not stick to the terms of any deal on Ukraine, because he has a history of not sticking to his word when it comes to international agreements.
I think he'll keep his word. I think I've spoken to him. I've known him for a long time now. You know, we had to go through the Russian hoax together. That was not a good thing. It's not fair. That was a rigged deal and had nothing to do with Russia. It was a rigged deal with inside the country, and they had to put up with that too. They put up with a lot. It wasn't just us. They had to put up with it, with a phony story that was made up. I've known him for a long time now, and I think he will. I don't believe he's going to violate his word. I don't think he'll be back. When we make a deal, I think the deal's going to hold. Now, they're going to have security. You're going to have security. You're going to have soldiers. I know France wants to be there. The president has said he wants to have soldiers there. I don't think we're going to even be necessary, but I don't think there'll be any problem with keeping the deal with the security.
Can you handle a little bit of
want to say something?
words from some other country?
The deal, if
Maybe
we get it,
30
is
seconds.
hugely important. I don't think it would have happened if the space hadn't been created for it by yourself. But if there's a deal in, we've got to make sure it's a deal that lasts, that is not temporary, but lasts, and that's why we need to make sure that it's secure, and we've lent in and said we'll play our part, and we've talked and we will talk about work with yourself, Mr. President, to ensure that this deal is something which is not violated, because it's very important that if there is a deal, we keep it.
And that will be, and I think I could say that will be the easy part. That's the part we look forward to. Back.
Is there anything you can say tomorrow to President Zelensky to reassure him that his country's
Yeah, because Zelensky's coming tomorrow, apparently.
war hasn't been in vain and its sovereignty is not going to be threatened by any deal with Russia?
Well,
Just the ridiculous. Can you assure him that his sovereignty won't be threatened by any kind of deal? So that's basically saying Ukraine should get Crimea back and everything. Like, it's the sovereignty. It's like,
that's a loaded question.
Sorry, Ukraine, but it's sort of been hit already. Like, not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
You know, he's coming. Perhaps he's already on his way. And we're going to be signing the deal together, probably in front of the media. and we're going to be having a good conversation. No, we want to work with him.
We'll have to cover that.
President Zelensky,
Should be an interesting one.
she said before. We want
Do
to
we
work
know
with
that's
him,
gonna
and we
happen?
will work with him. I think the president.
Do we know that's going to happen to Joss?
Do we know when that's going to happen?
Well, apparently he said Zelensky's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. Have they
To
put
some-
out like a time that they're?
No, I'm not sure exactly.
And I actually have had a very good relationship. It maybe got a little bit testy because we wanted to have a little bit of what the European nations had. You know, they get their money back by giving money. We don't get the money back.
See the finger. See the finger there. Because I don't think that's, I think Europe, they give some loans, but some gifts as well, or grants or whatever. So I don't think it's all loans. I don't know exactly how that works up, but I think that's what the Sturm is trying to say. He's like, oh, actually.
Back.
He said
Biden made a
something
deal.
like
He put in $350 billion, and I thought it was a very unfair situation.
We're not getting all of ours. I mean, quite a bit of ours was gifted. It was given. There were some loans, but mainly it was gifted, actually.
Mr. President, the Europeans
The nerve,
want
can you believe that?
Ukraine to be part of NATO as part of this deal. Are you willing to budge on that at all, or is it a firm?
Well, I could be very nice and say, oh, well, we'll work to it. Look, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That's what started this whole thing.
I love this
Biden said that, and all of a sudden the gun started. That was one of the primary reasons this started. And this was long before President Putin. They never said it was an impossibility. So we can say, oh, gee, well, we'll try. But that's something that's just not going to happen. And then the other question I ask is about the land. Will you get your land back? Well, they've fought long and hard on the land, and you and I will be discussing that. And we're going to certainly try and get as much as we can back. But on the NATO, it's just not, that's not going to happen. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you talked about having common ground with Keir Starmer, but there are things you disagree on as well. You described Zelensky as a dictator. He describes President Putin as a dictator. Do you see that as a problem?
The relationship between President Zelensky and President Putin is not a good one. You've noticed, right? It's not a good one. It's not a good relationship. And we're going to have to try and work something out. Sometimes that happens. I get along with both. I have a very good relationship with President Putin. I think I have a very good relationship with President Zelensky. And now we're doing the deal, and we're going to be in there. We're going to be actually in there and digging our hearts out. And hopefully, we need the rare earth, and we have some here, but we don't have enough. Our economy is very strong, and we need a lot of things that, in some cases, we don't have here. So I think we're going to have a very good relationship, but the relationship between them is not the best.
I think I have. They had. Yeah, I don't know. This other press. There's a few things in here.
The various breakout sessions we had were tremendously productive. Most importantly, I provided the Prime Minister with an update on our efforts to end the bloody and horrible war in Ukraine with Russia, which would never have happened if I were president. That was not going to happen. I promise you that. After 3 years of hellacious conflict, approximately 1 million Ukrainians and Russians have been senselessly killed, but the number, I believe, is much higher than that. Countless schools, hospitals, towns, and beautiful ancient churches have been absolutely obliterated. To begin the process of ending this spiral of death, I had historic back-to-back calls with President Putin, very successful calls, I might add, and President Zelensky, and my team also spoke with the Secretary General of NATO on numerous occasions, and we're working very hard to get that war brought to an end.
He's asked about his dictator.
Prime Minister, excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Prime Minister.
Yep. I like this comment, and I think it's a very relevant one. We have Alexander Untenberg. He says, it's kind of sad that many Republicans go full Democrat when the topic of Russia comes up. My family suffered greatly under the USSR, but the USSR is dead. Russia is not the bad guy in the UA. Yeah, so I sort of agree with it. Number one, I'm not it's not lost on me that Russia is not our friend, right? But I do think that we have a lot more in common than we do with a lot of other folks. And we really shouldn't be enemies at this point. That's the way that I kind of see it. And then we have a media that constantly talks up, this conflict between Russia and the United States. And it just feels like they're a broken record, that they haven't realized that the Soviet Union fell a long time ago. And I think that's a lot of what our military industrial complex, everything is geared around, defending against Russia, that they got to maintain that, because there's so many different systems in place, people in place, bureaus in place, operations in place that depend on Russia to exist. And there's that portion of it. But then we refuse to shift our focus on China. And this is the thing that really irritates me. China by far is a much greater threat than Russia ever was. Russia can't even win a war against a small country like Ukraine. They have no chance of really winning a war against us unless they went nuclear. And by the way, there really is no reason that we should be in a war with, they're not, at this point, Russia is, they're all but defunct, right? Russia, but China is the real threat. But yet we constantly have politicians on both sides, by the way, that are constantly holding water and defending China. Very few are defending Russia, and Russia is a non-threat at this point. And that's kind of the biggest problem that I see in the entire media narrative, is like, where is the focus on China and all the crazy shit that they do? All these liberals are so worried about human rights and things like that, and worried about global warming, but yet they can't acknowledge that, they're most of the stuff that we are use and buy, like this phone that I have here, is made with essentially slave labor. They have no, they have nothing in place that is reducing pollution. Them in India are the worst polluters in the world. We could stop producing pollution. If you believe in global warming, you should have an adversarial relationship against China, and yet for some reason they don't. They're too worried about destroying the economy in America, which isn't producing pollution almost at all, isn't contributing to global warming almost at all. So that's the thing that, like, there's a complete detachment going on there. Like it's nuts to me, and it irritates the living shit out of me, to be honest with you, because it's so obvious. Don't you think, Chris?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, Russia and Australia is the real threats.
Yeah. And here I am. You've got to be suspicious as Australians saying, yeah, let's get along with Russia. What's that all about? Where's that coming from?
What's that?
Just saying, you've got to be suspicious here as an Australian, basically saying, yeah, let's get along with Russia. Russia's not too bad. You got to watch the Russia-Australia alliance. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's true.
Can't trust anyone. Where was I? I was sort of looking to queue up my next thing after this, and then I've lost where I am on this one. But I'll get there. Bear with me. 2 seconds. Oh, yeah, I already had it. I shouldn't doubt myself.
You've talked about putting British soldiers' boots on the ground in Ukraine in the event that President Trump succeeds with his peace deal. But can you do that without a firm assurance that America will have our back in the form of some kind of security guarantee were Putin to breach that agreement? And, Mr. President, tomorrow you're seeing President Zelensky to sign this deal on minerals and energy that could be hugely important to the United States. Will you take the opportunity to apologize to him for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator?
Well, Robert, let me start by saying I've been really clear today and previously that I think that European countries, including the United Kingdom, need to step up in our own defence and security. We've been doing that in recent days. You saw the announcement we made on spending just the other day. In addition to that, I've made it clear that the United Kingdom will play its full part in ensuring that if there's a deal, and we hope there is a deal in Ukraine, that is a lasting deal that sticks, and we're obviously working with other European countries on that, France and NATO in particular, but I think I'm hosting 18 countries on Sunday to further our discussions. You heard from the President this morning that, as historically has always been the case, we have each other's backs, and today we've been talking about...
All right, we want to hear Trump. All right. So
and I think we're going to have a very good meeting.
Because Trump's question was, will you apologize?
In detail about that.
And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow, 11 o'clock. And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to get along really well. Okay? We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him.
I haven't got it queued up, but at one point he's asked, something about the dictator comments. And he just goes, oh, did I say that? Or something like that. Just being kind of funny with it. The only other thing, we're getting sort of... I had all these extra things. We're going to look at Romania. They arrested the guy we covered. I've forgotten his name now, Georgescu or whatever it is, and released him. That's all. We might save that for another time. Might just quickly play a little bit of some Putin comments. It's hard to get them. So this doesn't have subtitles, but basically my production choice. I'll play this in the background while I read a little bit of it, just a couple of things before we go, of what Putin's saying in this interview. Where's it going now? I had heaps of things here. I won't be able to get to him, but he's sort of trashing Zelensky. He's not too popular. He probably doesn't want to end the war because he'll, lose the elections. He has a competitor that's sort of been exiled, the old defense minister. Anyway, he says a bunch of stuff, and he says the current US president has openly stated that he wants to achieve peace. By the way, this is something we want too, and the quicker this happens, the better. But the current Ukrainian regime leader stands in the way of achieving this goal. He sort of says it sort of helps Ukraine in a way, what Trump's doing, because that's a way to save Ukraine. He's basically saying if there's no deal, there's basically no Ukraine to save. We'll just keep on pushing on. He goes, he's basically said, we have no objection to that, as in saving Ukraine as a state, even though we do not want this territory to be used as a launch pad for aggression against the Russian Federation or as a hostile outpost targeting us. At the end of the day, we want it to evolve into a friendly neighborhood state. And later he's asked if Trump is driven by his emotions. Putin says, of course not. Naturally, the current leader of Kiev gives him plenty of reasons to express emotions. But based on what I've just said, a different picture emerges. His actions are not driven by emotions, but rather cold calculation and a rational assessment of the situation. And what else? A couple other things. He's asked, do European leaders realise the current dynamics around Ukraine? You'd have to ask them, but basically, no, I don't think they do. More importantly, unlike the US president, European political leaders are deeply entangled with the Kiev regime. They have made too many statements and promises, and now, frankly speaking, it is very difficult or almost impossible for them to backtrack without losing face. Given that they are also facing internal political challenges, including elections, re-elections, parliamentary struggles, and so on, changing their stance is practically unthinkable in these circumstances. In contrast, the newly elected President of the United States has far more freedom of action. He is not bound by past commitments that would prevent him from moving forward and working towards a resolution of this conflict. His direct and unrestrained approach reflects his character. He is in a unique position. Not only does he say what he thinks, but he says whatever he wants. And that, after all, is a privilege of a leader of a major global power. And Putin has many times in the past sort of trashed European leaders as being vassals who just do what they're told, basically, by America, I think, usually. And there's one other thing I was going to touch on. Oh, he goes, I observed the response to my telephone conversation with the US president, and I saw the response to the high-level meeting in Saudi Arabia. It was emotional and devoid of any common sense. He says, look, for any peace, Russia and the United States must make the first step, which is, fixing things between Russia and the US. And he responds to the Europeans complaining about being left out of that. But he basically says, what do the Europeans have to do with this? This is a matter of bilateral Russia-US relations, just the first step he's talking about. What role do Europeans see for themselves here? What can they contribute? And sort of trashes Europe a bit more. And the last thing I'll end on, he sort of talks about Trump's proposal that I touched on in previous things, and I queued up the Superman 4 just to get in the mood of sort of reducing nukes and reducing military things that Trump sort of said if they can come to an agreement, Russia and China and America, on reducing their military things. He's asked, Trump said he wanted to propose to you and the head of China to cut the defense budgets in half. What do you think about this idea? He says a few things and then eventually says, I'm not in a position to comment on how the People's Republic of China would feel about this. The US side tried different approaches regarding strategic offensive weapons and other critical matters. So this is a matter for China to decide on. However, we could come to an agreement with the United States. We are not against it. I think this is a good idea. The United States would cut their spending by 50%. We could cut ours by 50%. And China could then join in if it wants to. We think this is a good proposal and we are open to discussing it. And there's another comment about mineral talks. And he says, yes, some of our respective companies are in contact and are discussing such projects. And yeah, there's a few other things there, but we're probably running a little bit over time, so I might wrap it up there. But that's sort of a semi-exclusive. It's really, you basically have to go to the Kremlin website to get any of that. And take it for what it's worth. Obviously he's, I'm not saying take Putin at his word or whatever, but that's his perspective, which you don't hear very often.
Yeah, going back to the Epstein Files today, I was just poked over here to X. Laura Loomer said, P.S. Upon review of the documents that were inside the binders that were given out at the White House today, I can tell you that the binders were given out at the White House today contain redacted copies of Epstein documents that were released in 2015 and December of 2021. Today was nothing but a performance by Pam Bondi. She's calling Pam Bondi out explicitly, who I am told physically handed all the influencers their binders inside the White House. We were all lied to today. So
sorry, I missed the start. Who was that saying that?
Laura Loomer.
Oh yeah.
Laura Loomer. Yeah, I don't know, folks. I think we were bamboozled today as well. I don't know who's at fault. That'll kind of play itself out, but ultimately, Pam Bondi does have to take responsibility for it. Man, I think it's high time we start, whether they're on our side or the other side, man, we got to hold these freaking sleazy politicians accountable. And if, she can we'll know in the next couple of days. She's either going to make it right, we're going to get real information, or we're going to continue to be fed BS. And that's sure what it looks like. I think there's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that don't want that information released. And man, I'm going to be super pissed if those the JFK files are just more of this. Really going to be pissed about that.
Yeah, I think that Anna Luna, she also publicly on Twitter put out something asking Bondi what's going on, and said something like, I've tried to get a response from you, but I haven't, so that's why I have to take to Twitter. So I don't know what that was about either. We just had a comment too from Metal Seer, sort of was asking about whether Putin has made any trips to the US. Apparently he's visited America 7 times.
And apparently, according to other sources on Twitter, he's touched down just a little while ago at Andrews Air Force Base. So apparently he's in country and they're going to be meeting tomorrow. So
Zelensky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did you say Putin or Zelensky?
I was saying before, yeah, Putin has visited America 7 times. Because I think someone said that they didn't think Putin has been to America before, but he has.
He's definitely been to. He's been in the White House multiple times with multiple presidents.
But yeah, that's interesting about Zelensky. We'll probably keep an eye on that. And also, we didn't even touch on the Tate brothers. Apparently, they're on the way to America. I'm assuming they've touched down as well, because the Romanian courts. Yeah, Andrew Tate. Tristan Tate. They're in for supposed human trafficking charges or whatever, and they've been on house arrest. But just something happened, and they were allowed to travel, and they're traveling to America. Some people were saying that the Trump administration was pressuring Romania to allow them to do that. But I think I read a report saying that that's not the case. So I'm not exactly sure, but that's just another little story. There's just so much going on.
I think the Tates ultimately, here's my take on the Tates is there's some sleaze bags that say some things that I agree with sometimes. I think ultimately that's where it's
probably the perfect. Yeah, I agree with that.
No.
At one point, I've shilled my Ukraine pinned tweet at Chris Dolan a few times. Tristan Tate shared that, and he wrote a big thing about, sort of piggybacking off the video and saying his thoughts about the separatists or the Russian-speaking people in the East, sort of standing up for their language and their religion and all this kind of stuff. So he shared that. I got heaps of views out of it. I got like over 1 million views on that video. He's a big part of that. And then he followed me. So I was happy about that. I could say, hey, Tristan Tate follows me. And then I checked the other day and he has since unfollowed me. Yeah. So, maybe he's just a total sleazebag, But yeah.
I knew that's where that was going.
Might have been a different story if he was still following me. I'd be like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's all nonsense.
He's a great guy. Those guys,
it's all fake news.
Wow. They got hearts of gold, those two. My gosh. All right, folks. Well, listen, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope you were entertained. Hope you were, we gave you the information we had. The information we had was shit. I'll just be honest with you, but it's the information we had, and we gave it to you as we got it. I don't know what else to say about that, but we always appreciate you tuning in. Like, subscribe, all those things if you're not already. And stay tuned. We got some other great guests coming up too, both on this show and Dangerous Liberty. So we'll
Jeff
be
says
back.
This
here.
is why Tristan followed me, because he's sick of my Israel hate. I don't think that's it.
Probably. All right, folks. Chris, got any final words? Any words of wisdom out there?
No, I think I'll leave it for there. I mean, I've got plenty of words of wisdom, but I don't just throw them out.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I haven't seen any evidence of that.